Welcome to a new episode of our podcast, Lead the Future, an unedited podcast to change the conversation and create the future. I'm Arjan Visser, human centered futurist, and your host. Join me as I chat with my friend Shane Pope about authentic leadership transformation. Shane Pope is an international business director, a facilitator of personal and professional convergence. Shane is on a mission to redefine business as a deeply personal endeavor, rooted in identity, purpose, and impact. I always love to just bring that back to business is personal.
Mm,
And I'm really happy, Shane, to have you back in the podcast after only, what is it, 5 weeks since the
yeah,
last time you joined.
something like that. Yep.
Yeah, I'm really pleased that you had time on the short notice to actually process last week's authentic leadership
Mm,
transformation forum.
yes.
Short, we love to call it the alt forum,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a great
Oh,
time. And
great conversation. Yeah.
we are shaping it with our growing list of founding members
Mm-hmm.
as that space for forerunners, entrepreneurs, CEOs, business owners that really sense like there is more. Maybe I'm on a quest, but and I want more clarity because some of the things ahead are still foggy.
Yeah.
And so it was a great conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I immediately thought, I want to process that with Shane.
Yes. No, that would be great. And I mean, if I remember rightly, I think you kicked off the conversation around this idea of loneliness
Yeah.
and leaders feeling lonely.
Hmm.
What did you mean by that?
Well, I was triggered by
Mm,
at least three events that mentioned that loneliness. Well, it is a thing. Recognizing is a thing. No, some were positive. Others were more about we need to solve it. We need to end it.
mm,
And and it was my of honest question that is loneliness something that is just part of being a leader, having a vision, still finding the language to express it and explain it to myself? Or is it the same as isolation? Because I think isolation is an unhealthy state of mind,
mm,
and in many cases the root cause of behavior that is completely covered in my blind spot.
mm, mm-hmm.
So I just threw that question in as an opening question for like, is there a difference?
Yeah.
And but if there's not, then okay, then did I fool myself?
Mm. It's interesting, even just reflecting on it now, as I reflect on those two words, loneliness and isolation, and thinking about our conversation last week. One of the words that was said that stuck out to me was yearning, and loneliness has to. When I think about it, it has a sense of a yearning for something that I'm missing versus isolation. To me, isolation feels like more of a description of a state of place. I can be in an isolated place, miles away from anywhere, or I can be isolated when it comes to people. I'm separated or distanced from people. But maybe in my head, I'm like, well, I'm actually okay with that because I'm fed up with people, and I've actually chosen isolation. Whereas I think loneliness to me has there's a sense of I wish it was different, and I'm yearning for something.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Someone in the discussion mentioned that a synonym, helpful synonym, is aloneness,
Mm,
and I recognize that as as a leader and working with leaders in organizations. I recognize that having the vision, carrying the vision, also being the biggest risk taker in the whole enterprise, because you're faced with all the unpredictability and you recognize the emerging future.
Mm.
That there is an aloneness because you
Mm.
don't, well, actually, you're still looking for language to express it. And if you are testing your language, you confuse people, you offend people. So, in a way, it's a healthy place not to communicate what you see that is coming ahead, the foresight you have yet, and wait for the right moment.
Mm.
And that brings you in a place that in the organization you are alone.
Mm.
And that could lead, if you stay in the organization, that you isolate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes hard to recognize what's the healthy part and what's the unhealthy part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, because I remember we also talked about this idea of solitude, and to me that the sense solitude to me feels like something that's deliberately chosen. Like I know I need to get some time and space away from distractions or away from other ideas or away from the noise, whatever that looks like, to get some time and space and quiet for myself to think more deeply, to reflect more deeply, to create, or like you were saying, to find language to what I sense is inside of me, or what I am beginning to glimpse of the future, what that might look like, or whatever, or the next change or transformation that needs to take place, whether it's in me or the organization that I'm leading. What does that all look like? And it can be hard to really pin that down or get some clarity on it when we're just surrounded by the midst of everything that goes on around us in normal day-to-day life, right? So I think that sense of choosing solitude, which to me links closely with isolation, it's choosing isolation for a moment, for a time, because we need that space to then be able to come back and then reconnect or reintegrate with where we're at. Go, okay, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm sensing, this is where we're going.
Yeah. Well, listening to you, I really love reflecting on our reflection and those kind of things. Because actually, I'm setting time apart. And I can do that on my own in solitude, which definitely I think should not be skipped. Um, and extroverts will hate it, and introverts will escape to it. But setting time apart for personal growth, personal development involves people as well, other people. People that are not offended or disrupted or confused by the finding language to express what it is really about. And and it is vision, it is recognizing the future, so no one has seen it yet or touched it. So it's not just a thought experiment. It's an imagination experiment about getting your head literally around it. Funny thing of imagination, you can spin it 360 degrees in your mind, and you can look it from the other side. And you need solitude for that. But then you also need other people, peers, those who have no stake in where you are going. So those emotions of being confused or insulted are simply not on the table. So I think they go hand in hand, and they all have to do with being accountable for who you are and who you are becoming.
Yes, and I think this, to me, this connects back into that idea of yearning when we were talking about loneliness earlier.
Yeah.
And I think some people will sense it more than others. There's probably, like I said, there's people out there who are like, I'm happy on my own. Thanks very much. Others probably will sense this yearning a bit more intensely, like there's something I'm missing, and it's something to do with people, because I'm feeling lonely. And I remember we had quite a discussion around what are we, when we're feeling lonely, what are we yearning for? And we talked about two ideas: community and connection. And we spend a bit of time sort of teasing those things out. You remember?
Yeah. 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 How similar they sound on first sight
Mm.
and how different they are when we explore them.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. We tend to say we need to surround ourselves with people to collaborate with, have community, or even modern language, have some kind of like family,
Mm.
place of belonging.
Find your tribe.
Yeah, find your tribe. And at the other end, with connection, that's what I learned through. It's something totally different.
Mm.
And I would say like it's the difference between, are we gathering around values or are we gathering around purpose?
Say more.
Well, family is known for values. So it's a bit of the door of keeping the family environment safe.
Mm.
So it's a bit in or out based on, do we share the values?
Right.
Um, Perfect, healthy place to belong.
Mm.
When you are yearning for more, hungry for more, having a vision you want to explore, see a horizon, uh, sense that there is a calling, a mission, a fuller identity of who you are becoming, then those value and the shared value really feels you're stuck in a box.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But you have purpose, your peers have also purpose, and you can really accelerate each other where the purpose overlap. You have the shared purpose, the shared direction. You sense the same direction. You want to achieve the same breakthrough.
Mm.
Vision overlaps, and then we travel together because we yearn for the same, or at least we yearn an overlap. We don't travel forever together
Mm.
because the moment we get beyond the shared purpose, it becomes unhealthy. And so yeah, travel companions, peers,
Mm-hmm.
provoking each other,
Mm-hmm.
keeping each other on track, momentum. All those words come for me to mind. And then probably because I think that's the extreme of high levels of leadership maturities. We do not share the first 10 of our values.
Mm.
We have competing values. And that's our richness, our colorfulness by
Mm.
being together.
Mm.
We are not offended by an opposing idea, an opposing opinion.
Mm.
And we not try to win people over for the common idea or the greater good.
Mm-hmm.
All those things come to mind when I think about it's
Yeah,
about
interesting.
purpose.
Interesting. So to me, it sounds like, or it feels like a different type of connection. So we have a connection with our family around shared values, perhaps around that being and belonging. But what you're talking here, I think, is about a different type of connection, connecting around shared purpose, like you were saying earlier about becoming and going somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And that feels like, actually, for me, that feels more like connecting
Mm.
because it's really in the details of the heart connection
Mm.
that we are beneficial for each other to hang out together.
Mm-hmm.
While the other is also, it's more like there is a warmth about being
Mm-hmm.
together
Mm-hmm.
in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the difference. It's in the
Yeah.
moment, the warmth,
Mm-hmm.
the relax, and the other one is it's in the heart connection, in the purpose, in
Yeah.
what makes business personal. I think in that sense, because the business is the vehicle to get somewhere, to establish something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think there's an energy and a momentum around that side, that, as you say, there's a purpose, there's a direction, we're going somewhere. So it feels like there would be and then an energy around those sorts of connections and connecting with other people who are embarking or are traveling on a similar journey, whether it's really close and parallel to yours, or it might be they're heading in a different direction perhaps in that regard, but the journey that you're on is the same. There's certainly an energy around that, and I think it's really interesting as we just talk about this to sort of think about the differences. I mean, I think as human beings, we need both, right? We need that person beside us helping us climb the mountain. We also need someone just to sit around the campfire together and realize we don't have to climb a mountain today.
Yeah.
Like I think there's both in there, and to have both is beautiful. But to realize the differences and sort of this need for both helps. Because I think sometimes we find ourselves like, I'm surrounded by people. Why do I still feel lonely? I have a great family. I have friends that I hang out with. I have colleagues at work. I've got people. I'm in community, but why do I still feel lonely? And I wonder if it's this what we're talking about here, this different type of connection that we're looking for that we haven't found yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you say, you need both.
Mm.
So I remember a podcast a while back, after I think it was after I finished the book, find your circle, and actually that's plural. Find your circles, and you need you need to have that circle. Call it family. And then you need your inner circle that's surrounding that. That's especially where it's about purpose, momentum, energy. And you have well, maybe you have more than three, but to keep it simple, the other circle of those people who are blessed by you being the best gift you can be to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think between the first two, and that's something I'm studying, because as pioneers we always say, don't ask how, get more clarity about what. The how will come. And in that longing or resisting the how question and getting more clarity about the what, that's where the purpose is. That's what is it about. And the family is less about the what, is way more about the how. That's I think why we can express it in values, because they capture how we
How we
have
do
fellowship
life.
together.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And sometimes both, but when you have a calling, a quest, a mission, a hunger for being to change the game, have impact, influence.
Yep.
That's all about the what. And in the journey, you will find the how. And then you have the status quo, which is all about, we know both. We know the how, we know the what. And it's none of the areas is bad. But there is only, I think, one that is right for you to be in the moment. A different moment, a different area. But finding the right one, when it is about purpose and having clarity about your what, and when it is about values and knowing the how.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is where, for me, the alt forum is a great space to find other people and connect with other people who might be who are on a mission as well, right? I mean, to me, this is part of why the alt forum was put together in the first place.
Yeah, a different place than the mastermind, where we go to deep personal transformation to work things out. But just talking about the other side of the gap, the other side of the value that we refer to so often in personal development. and what is it about? Who am I becoming?
Mm.
And how do I resist to do again what I know to do?
Hmm.
And we talked about the owner CEO role in businesses as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
because oh man, I think that's where it really clashes,
Mm.
because the CEO can be head of operations, and then it's all focusing on the productivity efficiency.
Right. Right.
It can also be the captain on the ship to explore new waters,
Yeah.
and in that total different role, of different stake, but it
Mm.
all fits the profile of being the CEO, being the owner. You are the captain.
Mm.
You carry the responsibility for the whole structure.
Yes. And there's a difference between a captain of a big cargo ship who is setting off from one port, and he knows where he's going, and his job is just to get the ship to that destination safely and as quickly as possible, versus an explorer who sets out on a ship to find somewhere new.
Yeah.
Very different. Yeah, same role. Both guys are in charge of a boat, but very different role, very different purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great illustration. That's a
Takes a
great
very
illustration.
different personality, I think, and a very different approach to what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, and if a business has a vision that is connected to your heart as the
Mm.
captain,
Mm.
you're more on that explorer vessel
Mm.
than you
Mm.
are doing the cargo ship,
Mm-hmm.
even when it's every time a different port.
Mm.
And especially, and again, it's different if you do a cruise ship or a
Mm.
ferry.
Mm.
um, but I think a CEO has both. They are moving the cargo ship, and they are leading the exploration. They
Yes.
are, and it's that duality in which, as the captain of the ship, you are faced with your biggest competitor, yourself.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It is where, and I think in isolation that goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have the experience that when we ask the decision maker, why did you make that decision?
Mm.
How did my input you asked for helped you in that decision?
Mm.
That the answer is, I don't have to be accountable to you.
Mm.
And then you feel that you failed. And actually, you failed because you were shortcutted in learning.
Mm. Mm.
So that's where I've always think a good leader helps his people with reflection and feedback based on the decision he made, so they understand and could learn how their work, their input supported the decision making.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the, for me, one of the early triggers that, oh, the captain is battling his own ego,
Mm. Mm.
and he's losing sight of that he's actually in charge of the ecosystem for people to grow, to flourish,
Mm.
to not just contribute their best self, but also become the more authentic self.
So bringing that, circling back around again, then, as someone in that role, responsible for I guess the culture of what's going on. We were talking earlier about isolation and loneliness and people finding themselves in those places. This is probably something, as a good leader, that I need to be looking out for in my team. Are there people in my team who are isolating themselves? Are there people in my team that are struggling with loneliness.
Yeah.
And what do I do about that?
Yeah. Recognize that in the people. Do they fully bring themselves and their questions with them?
Mm,
Are they, is there energy
mm,
when they talk about their personal life?
mm.
How does
Yeah,
their work life support their personal life?
yeah. Am I asking them to leave their personal life at the door and show up because this is business, it's not personal, you
Yeah.
know? Or am I actually embracing that at work? Do I have a human connection with the people that I'm leading? Am I connected with them as a starting point, at least?
Yeah.
Do I know what their purpose, what they're passionate about? Can we share something in that space to have that energizing connection so we can journey together at least for a little while?
Yeah. Yeah. And the other side, like swing fully to the other
Hmm.
side, pioneering leaders who maybe they really believe it, but I have a hard time to believe it, that their team is their healthy environment where they can fully be themselves.
Mm,
That's, I think that is, just throw it in, that is totally impossible, because the people in your team have things at stake, answering you, following you, listening to you,
mm,
working for you.
mm,
So, and they actually, there is a threat from for their mental state when you experiment your language.
mm,
And if you think that you don't have to experiment your language, then you speak from the place of that you know how to do it,
mm,
which is not an indicator of a healthy, authentic leadership development.
mm,
So, and I see it all the time. Like that, people say, "Well, I don't need an alt form. No, I don't need a place to dialogue, be triggered, be provoked, be inspired. I don't need a mastermind for my personal development.
mm,
I have my own circle in my business. You know, in my mountain, on my cargo ship, I have
mm,
my own people where I can be myself."
mm,
And history tells us that the people there had no scandals around their name, had huge impact. They had an inner circle
mm,
that provoked them, that challenged them, that pushed
mm,
them back, was
mm,
brutally honest to them,
mm,
and they were not part of the vehicle, the business that the leaders running. They were free
mm,
to be all of that
mm.
for the leader because they had no stake in the business.
Yeah.
You get to the Empire's Close kind of stories.
Mm. Yeah. Yes, exactly. The emperor's new clothes. Yeah. Exactly. Mm.
Well, we could go on forever, but we'll do that later this week when we are in the alt forum again.
Yeah.
And I just invite all our listeners, take it as an invite,
Mm.
this trigger, take it as an invite for you to be in a healthy mental state, for you being authentic leader. And even if it's just leading yourself, um, it's an invite. Just
Mm.
reach out, join the alt forum, throw in your question about authentic leadership transformation, empower others by asking them questions to go deeper in their journey,
Mm.
and find connections that share purpose with you on your journey.
Mm.
So the invitation is there. You can reach out to us and we'll help you to find the link. You can just follow the link that's below, which is called alt.businessrevivalists.com/forum. LinkedIn events, it's all there. So no excuse for you to get on the journey of, because there's only actually one reason why you deserve it, to explore the biggest gift that you can be for someone else.
Mm.
Shane, thank you very much.
Thank you. This was fun, as always.
for hanging out with me.
Yeah,
And I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
so am I. It'd be
Take
great.
care, my friend. Bye.
Bye.